Hello everyone, XV here from youtube.com/XVRogueGaming, and this is the fourth video in a weekly series I'm doing for Dotacinema designed to take your game to the next level. To start off, congratulations to this week's winner, Balthazar, for posting a topic in the comments for last week's tutorial. Remember that your topic doesn't need to be the one chosen. Simply being subscribed to my channel and letting me know what you want to learn about is enough to be eligible to win. With the new contest format, a lot more topics are being recommended instead of a few heavily upvoted ones. While this makes it a bit more difficult to find the winning topic, with 6 different posts and a total of over 150 thumbs up, this week's video will be on last hitting and denying. Last hitting refers to dealing the killing blow to an enemy creep. Doing so awards no more experience than if it had died to an allied hero or creep, but it does generate gold, 41 to 51 on average. Denying refers to dealing the killing blow to a friendly creep. Doing so awards no gold, but it does greatly reduce the amount of experience your opponents receive. To show the numbers, melee creep gives 61 experience and range creep gives 41 experience when slain. A denied creep, whether melee or ranged however, gives only 36 experience to enemy melee heroes and 18 to ranged opponents. This is designed to slightly alleviate some of the issues of being a melee hero, as last hitting or preventing denies can be difficult without getting harassed. Because I know it will come up, all of the following math is specific to the first 7.5 minutes of the game, after which, and every 7.5 minutes from then on, creep get a minor buff that will change things very slightly, but the concepts hold true. A lot of people misunderstand the character sheet at the bottom of their UI. The damage listed is actually an average, and not a true value. What do I mean? Well, for instance, a Tier 1 tower is listed as dealing 110 damage, but in reality deals 100 to 120 damage. That's a 20-point variance and an average of 110. Bonus damage, or the plus X that follows, is a true number, and is the sum of all plus damage items and buffs your character possesses. Regardless of whether it is a direct or bonus damage, non-spell damage is mitigated by armor. Though an entire lesson could be dedicated to the relationships between specific damage types and armor types, for our purposes, melee creep have 2 armor, which works out to roughly 11% damage reduction, and ranged creep have 0. Putting it all together, this means that when last hitting, you have to account for your damage variance, and in the case of a melee creep, their armor reduction. So the rule of thumb, heroes generally deal 50 damage per hit at level 1. To compensate for variance, it's safest to round it down to 45. Factoring in total HP and armor, this means that melee creep need to be at or below 8%, and range creep need to be at or below 15% to last hit effectively. So let's look at how creep interact with each other. Melee creep deal an average of 3.5% damage to each other and 7% damage to ranged creep per hit. Conversely, range creep deals 6% damage to melee creep and 12% to each other. If you're wondering why ranged creep have such a big damage advantage with only moderately higher printed damage, it's because their attack type is piercing. Conveniently, lane creep also have a 1-second attack speed, meaning we can safely predict the rate of damage per second, or DPS, a creep is taking in order to time our last hits. For example, a melee creep being beaten on by 2 melee and 1 ranged is taking 13% of its total life per second. Another issue is the speed of our own attack. This includes everything from wind-up, for example the incredibly slow Crystal Maiden, and distance, the time it takes our projectile to reach the target. While I'm not suggesting sitting at your computer with a calculator scrambling to do vector addition mid-game, you will naturally get a feel for when you click and how many seconds it takes before your damage is dealt. In order to master last hitting, you will need to mentally factor in the rate of damage to ensure that your damage is landing below the 8/15% depending on what you're attacking. If you're having trouble, you can also move closer. The closer you are to the target, the easier it is to last hit, but this puts you in a more dangerous position. Animation canceling is also an effective tool here. Hitting S to interrupt your attack if it's going to be a moment too soon will let you split seconds and land your attack out of the natural sequence. My best suggestion for you is to not fight creeps within range of a tower, especially enemy ones, but it is inevitable. The good news is that fighting in the shadow of your tower is incredibly formulaic, especially since Tier 1 towers, the same as creep, have an attack speed of 1 second. Towers deal 18% total HP to a melee creep, and 36% of a ranged creep's total life on average. Because towers represent such a huge portion of a creep's life, it just isn't something you can play by ear like normal. As such, we have to engineer scenarios where the creep HP is at the right amount. Assuming a melee creep is at full HP, it takes 6 tower hits on average to kill it. In order to properly interrupt this, we need to replace one of the tower hits with 2 of our own. Now there is no way that we'll be able to attack twice in between a tower hit, however. This means that we attack once when the creep is first being attacked, and after 5 tower hits total, we will attack a second time for the last hit. Assuming a ranged creep is at full HP, it takes only 3 tower hits on average to kill it. In the exact same fashion, we need to replace one tower attack with 2 of our own. This means that we attack early, and after 2 tower hits total, we finish it off. You can replace one of your attacks with damage from friendly creeps using the DPS rate we discussed earlier. If a creep is already missing some life, you'll need to do some simple math on the fly to mentally reduce the number of tower hits. Normally I quickly click on the creep. For melee, I divide their total HP by 100, and that's how many tower hits they have left. Reduce it by 1 and attack after that many. For ranged creep, provided they're above 75%, I know that I only get 1 attack in, and I wait for 2 tower hits. Below that, truthfully, I gamble and go for 2 to 1 right away, 1 right after the next tower hit, hopefully. Siege creep are a bit of an exception to this. Like ranged creep, they only take 3 tower hits on average, but unlike ranged creep, you cannot substitute 1 tower hit for 2 of your own due to their very high damage reduction. Assuming the catapult has full life, there is a slim chance it will survive 3 tower hits due to poor rolls by the tower. If this happens, you can easily take the last hit. There's more to denying than just taking what we've learned from last hitting and applying it to friendly creep. For starters, you can only attack a friendly creep when it's below 50% HP. If you're looking to reduce your wave's momentum and draw the point of conflict back towards your tower, it is beneficial to start attacking friendly creep as soon as possible. It's important, however, that you do not lock yourself out from getting standard last hits during your backswing from these attacks. Let me be very clear when I say that last hitting is more important than denying. It is also very common for players to enable last hits for their opponents. By attempting to deny too soon, you may often leave a friendly creep low enough that an incoming enemy attack generates a last hit that would have otherwise failed. You really need to be precise with your denies, or else you will do more harm than good. This is most common while waves are moving forward. Often I see heroes begin to whack away at friendly creep at lower life as it runs up. Since the creep is moving away from you, you will not get to attack consistently and will instead pause between them from moving. Due to it running toward your opponent, it's very easy for them to pick up a creep that you've brought low. Another folly is to favor harass over denies, or vice versa. It's important to consider your opponent's build and play accordingly. An enemy with next to no regen is one that you should put an emphasis on harassing, and only deny when it's convenient. This will make them afraid to try to last hit, or better yet, force them out of lane entirely. Conversely, a hero with a ring of health or regen skills should be denied first and harassed when it's convenient. Your early game item and skill choices impact your ability to last hit drastically. I see a lot of players rush to mid-game items and overlook early game stats and plus damage. Primary attribute items, and especially plus damage items as they grant more plus damage per golden stat items, make last hitting a lot easier. Blades of Attack, for instance, raise the threshold from 8% or lower to 10% or lower on melee creep, and even more so on ranged. A Quelling Blade has a huge impact and scales with your hero. Think of these items as investments, as they will naturally pay for themselves by generating last hits you may have otherwise missed. Skills such as Janata, Tidebringer, or Searing Arrows are excellent examples of skills that leveling early make last hitting infinitely easier as well. Remember that it's always better to throw excess damage at a creep than too little. As Clinks, for instance, every last hit I attempt will always be a Searing Arrow, just in case. While there is more that can be said in regards to last-hitting tactics for specific heroes, I hope that you found this video useful for taking your game further. Remember that it's you who decide the topic, so be sure to post in the comments below what you'd like to see next week and subscribe to my channel to be eligible to win. As always, if you like this video, please thumbs up, share, and subscribe to my channel for more in-depth guides and exclusive content and contests. Until next week, this is XV, signing out.